seems as though Ricky Carmichael has nothing left to prove, yet his critics are always there to remind him of his next challenge. At the halfway point, he's 6 for 6, 12 for 12, and a perfect 300 points in the standings. But many say with Carmichael's sore legs from a near skid-off at Unadilla and the Supercross-style Troy, Ohio track, that gives Reed the edge. Once again, Ricky Carmichael is out to prove a point and answer another question, one he already knows the answer to. There's overcast skies, a chance for rain, but there's a 100% chance of great motocross racing. The 2004 AMA Chevrolet U.S. Motocross Championship at Troy, Ohio's Kenworthy's Motocross Park is the FMS Nationals. They've changed things up for 2004. The track does not go its conventional way. They flipped it around, Cameron Steele. It's going the opposite direction.
They are running opposite direction. The last time they raced here, they didn't race last year because of the flooding, but that guy 103, Sebastien Tortelli, he ran second overall.
As we take a look at the results, after 6 of 12 races, Ricky Carmichael with the perfect season.
Everybody seems to be chasing at his coattails. The newly added Sebastien Tortelli, he's been in the mix.
Look at the line outside of Honda. It's silly season. Where are the riders going to go? Will these fans move to Suzuki? Down to Jamie.
The big question in the 250 class this weekend is who will be Ricky Carmichael's teammate at Team Suzuki? You know, they're going to be debuting that 454 stroke next year in Supercross. Word has it they're going to want a test rider to test that bike for Ricky Carmichael outdoors. The #1 rider right now, I'm thinking, Sebastien Tortelli, number 103. He just came off Suzuki's first podium finish in over 18 months. Also, Sean Hamblin, Nick Way. As of right now, we don't know what color they'll be next year.
One thing's for sure, Ricky Carmichael is moving to the other side of the camp. His Honda will soon be a Suzuki. He's all about just having a good time, just making a living riding his dirt cycle.
I've done really good for myself and for my sponsors, and you know, it's just all about trying to have fun. Like I said earlier, the 450 is so much fun, and I'm really enjoying racing. You know, it's fun to ride, and I'm just having a blast out there. And, you know, I've won all the races. There's nothing left for me to prove. I won Unadilla, so I'm really excited about the way things have gone this year, and just ecstatic.
Yeah, I'd be pretty happy with a perfect season, going out there, you know, doing what you're paid to do and doing it very well. Sebastien Tortelli, the fastest two-stroke in the group.
Yeah, and he snuck it up on the podium last week, and Kevin Windham missed the podium, and that's only twice this year that that's happened to him, but he seems to be missing a little bit of that speed he had, and we see Chad Reed's bike right there. They're changing up tires after the siding lap because of the concrete starting grid. They want to have as much mud off the bike as possible.
As we take a look at this track at Kenworthy, it is totally different than what these riders are used to.
It is. It's still a really long start straight, lots of high speed there, but it's going the opposite direction. One thing we will see, it's slippery where there's no ruts or grooves, but where there are ruts, it is super dangerous. You got to pick your line and stand it. Remember, it is a Supercross style track, the first and only one really we see on the year, and well, that's going to play into Chad Reed's hands, allegedly, if you listen to the rumors.
The AMA Supercross champion parked right next to Ricky Carmichael. As we look at our Honda starting grid, Carmichael, Reed, Windham, Vuillemin, huge names. Who's going to be the one that comes out on top here? Can you bet against Ricky Carmichael?
Well, if it rained anymore, a lot of people would say David Vuillemin, but with the big ruts, like a muddy track, maybe you got a little bit for Vuillemin there, and Sebastien Tortelli, of course, growing up in France, lots of rain, lots of mud, and that's why you saw Chad Reed change his tire because of the mud in the groove.
RC says forget about that new tire action, but the dirt is definitely loose right now. Chad Reed.
Reed's got him. Maybe changing the tire is a big enough factor. Some people say it's psychological, but you can see everybody trying to pack in there. Look at the ruts right away. You're going to see him develop. And here, a lot of braking bumps to the inside. They've left some ruts there from earlier racing. It's really going to develop as we move forward here with two motos in.
Kevin Windham in third spot, trying to get by Joaquin Rodriguez in second. The KTM pilot in the number 2 spot, David Vuillemin taking that wide outside with Ricky Carmichael.
And you can see the guys airing it out. Ricky landed on top of that landing, basically flattened it. And, well, the Supercross stories, if they're true, Chad Reed has his best chance ever with the hole shot, and Joaquin Rodriguez from Portugal, he's been working the roadblock for a little bit there, but look at Ernesto Fonseca's actually moved up, and he's got 2 Supercross titles in the 125 class, so we know on Supercross style track he may be on the gas a little bit more.
The Costa Rican, number 24, Ernesto Fonseca, working in the mix. You have a trio of Hondas just behind Rodriguez, and now Carmichael moves into second very quickly. A good start by Rodriguez, but we didn't expect him to stay there for long, especially when you have Ricky Carmichael on your team. I love this shot. Shows you just how fast and how high these guys are traveling.
Right, and the one thing to watch out for on the face of the jump is going to be ruts. Cross-running up the face or getting your front rear tire in different grooves, or even in the same groove but in a different angle as you go through. Super dangerous. You see Chad take the new line carefully. See how slippery the face of that little tabletop is.
Chad Reed throwing it around. He is making this look like a Supercross track. Ernesto Fonseca, after the San Diego round of the Supercross, he's kind of looking forward to this. He missed most of the Supercross season. He likes to jump. He's really charging hard back there, as well as Kevin Windham, who now gets by Rodriguez. Number 14 out of Mississippi, Kevin Windham closes in on his Honda co-pilot or teammate, I guess. Are they teammates or are they not? They're on 2 different teams.
Well, they're on 2 different teams. They both ride factory Honda prepared machines. I mean, Kevin's team builds his bike, but factory Honda is helping out. So yes, they are technically teammates.
Chad Reed on the inside of the run, but what happens to Fonseca behind Ricky Carmichael?
And you can see those guys really negotiating it well, getting the lines, and you can see Fonseca on the exit where it's just really tore up, throws the bike back and forth, and really he rode the rut well. It's just at the end where it was so beat up.
And that's acceleration bumps that these riders are having to deal with. They will start taking themselves outside of that line as the race progresses.
They definitely will start looking for different lines, but also you got to remember that Fonseca's on the 2-stroke, so when you apply the power, it comes on a little bit more brutally hard, and you'll have the bike jump around a little bit more, where the 4-stroke, smoother power delivery, a little bit more deliberate, you won't have it jumping around coming out of that line like you saw Fonseca's 2-stroke.
Fonseca taking the high road, Kevin Windham taking the low road. 2 different attitudes towards this racetrack, and the attitude for Ricky Carmichael is right now, do I charge? Do I go ahead and try and get the pass, or do I see maybe where Chad Reed could be a little bit faster than me?
Yeah, and you saw Ricky Carmichael actually jumping into the flats because he can go faster than the jump allows. What I mean is, if you time the jump perfectly, you're landing down the backside. Ricky Carmichael is trying to carry more speed jumping out into the flats. Why is that dangerous? Because you could catch a rut, cross rut in a flat landing, hit a soft spot or a sticky spot. In this clay here at Kenworthy, it's definitely tricky. You saw Ricky right there. You saw it. It looked like his cases, his bottom of his bike, the frame cases hit the mud there a little bit. Stuck just a bit.
You see the rain starting to come down here in Troy, Ohio. We're in the early parts of our 250 Moto number 1. Chad Reed, your leader, ahead of Ricky Carmichael, and they separated themselves from the rest of the field. Far behind is Ernesto Fonseca. And now Ricky Carmichael goes for an inside line. Will he be able to sneak in?
See, he has to be a little ginger there where it's slippery, and you don't want to follow here, even though there's no rocks really in the dirt. That clay is hard. Tacked together, and that roost really hurts and leaves you with the black and blue mark. Choosing different lines there, different ruts. It looks like Ricky's looking for a place where he can find a way around Chad Reed. Not to say Chad's going slow. I think Ricky thinks here he goes to the outside. We'll see how he works this line.
It's a long way around. It should set him up to the inside, though, but still not the case. Chad Reed is showing why he's the reigning 250 Supercross champion in a very Supercross-type motocross track, and Carmichael again
diving inside.
Yeah, he made it stick that time.
He did, and there's an option to jump that double, and then the big jump after, Ricky gets it. Chad doesn't, but then Chad gets another section after there. So multiple lines being used, but Ricky Carmichael a little bit faster. He has been all year, and he works the track to his advantage, finds the spot where he can get around, and he does just that. Again, you see Ricky jump into the flats, and you saw Chad downside that.
You're talking about 2 totally different riding styles, even in Supercross. And Chad Reed will be the first one to point it out as we look at the battle for third with Ernesto Fonseca and Kevin Windham. I'll talk about that in just a moment. I want us to look and see if Kevin Windham has the desire to get by Ernesto, and I guess the answer is yes.
Yeah, I mean, he's going right by on that No Fear factory connection bike and moving right on by. And you know, it's hard, and I think part of it's going to be delivery here in the ruts with Ernesto on the 2-stroke. You saw him right there landing in the rut and having to stick it going up that face. It actually looked like he shuddered a bit, and and maybe right there was a little bit of a telltale sign where he didn't get all the way over that little section.
I think a lot of people are surprised, I for one, that Kevin Windham hasn't been up in the front every single moto, much like he was last year.
Totally true. He was the guy that got in the way of Ricky's unbeaten streak more than once, as well as best finish this year, a second.
Well, so far for 2004, Ricky Carmichael is unbeaten, and he's up front in this race. We'll find out if he can stay there when we come back. Welcome back to Kenworthy's. I'm Robbie Floyd with Cameron Steele, Jamie Little down in the pits, and off the track goes Ricky Carmichael just when he looked like he was riding super smooth. He gets out of control. It's getting slippery out here with this rain coming down.
It is getting slippery, and if you catch those ruts just the wrong way, let's see what happens. Looks like he's moving to the right a little bit. He catches the top of that as he's doing the tear-off.
Oh, he come up short.
No, long.
Oh, you're
he
right.
Landed way out on that last bump, and it looked like, remember earlier in the race, we saw him catch what looked like his bottom of the frame rails? I think the same thing. He just hit and it flew him to the side.
He knew it when he was in the air. Did you see him in that little blip of the throttle? I thought he was coming up short and he didn't want to case it. You're right. He's over jumping this track. He's too fast for the track. You can't contain him.
Well, no one's been able to contain him, but that little slip up, you know, we already hear that his leg's a little bit sore from the almost get off at Unadilla. He doesn't look like he's injured at all, but, you know, maybe a little nick in the armor there. Chad Reed is, again, closer than he was. We'll see if Chad can put something together here.
As we drop back, Michael Byrne, this battle for sixth. Sebastien Tortelli starting to close in very quick. The Thor Kawasaki have probably missed a shift right there on the straightaway.
No, he's looking down. It looks like maybe there's a problem. Maybe he's caught his shifter in one of those deep ruts. You can bend it, and if you bend it the right way, it might get up against the case of the motorcycle and won't shift, so possibly having a problem there.
As we take a look back at Chad Reed on this Dirty Dozen section, had some problems.
Look at him going nose in. Wow, so Chad saving it, but definitely nosing into that section.
This track wrecking havoc. You saw Michael Byrne with possible shifting problems. There's Reed with throttle problems. Red Dog, Tim Ferry, rider number 15, working on your World Supercross champion, Heath Voss from Texas. Voss in the 10th spot. Here comes Red Dog. Talking about semi-factory Mach 1 Yamaha of Voss going against full factory Tim Ferry, and it looks like he's having problems with his bike.
Yeah, Red Dog, you know, this is not a place you'd normally think you'd see Red Dog Tim Ferry, but, you know, he is coming back from an injured wrist, and we've seen him come up on the results a couple times, and, you know, back in 10th place, a little bit tough, and Heath Voss, as you said, Supercross champion, maybe the track fitting his liking just a little bit more.
The World Supercross champion just ahead of Tim Ferry, something that's kind of surprising. Ferry was 5th at Southwick. That's very respectable. We haven't seen the top 5 finishes from Heath Voss, but the Supercross star looks good. Loses his rhythm right there, though, and Ferry sets him up on the outside and makes the pass.
Making it stick, and definitely not, you see him going in there seat bouncing, and now he's coming into that rutted out jump section.
And Cameron, they're not only rutted on the bases, they've been rutted on the downsides too.
That's one thing I really noticed when I rode this track a couple years ago, that not only did you have to pick that rutted out takeoff, when you landed, there was ruts going all different directions, and that's almost scarier than the rutted takeoff.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You land, you have nothing but air underneath you, and all of a sudden you get cross-rutted on a downside. It throws you down much harder than going up.
And we see Nick Way there on the number 27 by 12th place, and Nick right now doesn't have a ride for next year.
Yeah, so when you think of silly season, I think of a couple of riders. Sean Hamblin, Nick Way, 2 factory Suzuki riders. Way looked pretty good towards the end of the Supercross season. As it progressed to outdoors, it really didn't kind of carry on.
Yeah, he was at top 5 in Supercross. The one thing Nick really has going for him, not only top 5 overall in Supercross, but he's also always there. A lot of riders have a tendency maybe to be hurt or not be able to ride. Nick Way seems to always be at the races.
And a likable guy. I mean, you want a great representative of the sport. Nick Way is that wherever he goes, always glad to sign autographs for the fans. Another guy who's very well at that.
Yeah, that's a good segue right there to Ricky Carmichael.
Yeah, how late does he stay after the races? Now we're looking back at Ferry and Voss, and Nick Way is not waiting. He's trying to get by Voss right now. 2 former teammates of the Mach 1 team last year.
And Nick getting the shot this year, and I think he probably would have kept his ride at Suzuki, and he still may. Let's not count him out. You see all the rough section there. coming into that corner. A lot of braking bumps and multiple ruts to check, but with the addition of Ricky Carmichael over there, makes a lot of people's future uncertain.
Heath Voss taking the middle of the road approach. Nick Wade now going inside. You know, when you have a guy that close behind you, why would, I mean, is he trying to go middle saying, well, I can cover my bases?
Well, you definitely want to try to block and make the move, keep someone from making the move behind you. It's just a matter of you still got to ride the fastest line on the track, and if the rider behind you faster, he's going to find a way around. And the way it works in motocross most times is you try to find a different line, or you try to beat a guy into a line. If that doesn't work, then heck, you just take his line from him.
Hope you notice right there coming into that turn, you can watch the riders downshifting, knowing that they need as much oomph in that motorcycle as they can get. As Nick Wade goes by on the outside, the same place I believe that Ferry got by Voss. He needs to learn a lesson. Do not let the riders do that on the same jump.
And Rodriguez is still hanging it in there up in the top 10, which is a good ride for him right now. And oh, you saw right there, Voss getting a little squirrely there too.
The same thing you talked about. Those downsides swap you out. As we take a look at the top 5, it's Carmichael, Reed, Windham, Fonseca, and Tortelli. More when we return. As moto number 2 of the 250s is winding down, you're looking at the battle between Ernesto Fonseca and Sebastien Tortelli. In 4th spot is Fonseca, and Tortelli is charging hard.
And this is the battle for bragging rights on the 2-stroke machine. You saw Fonseca jump out in the flats. Tortelli is going to go outside in, and then you saw Fonseca had to grab the binders, but he did get that jump.
Ernie squared it up and just used that throttle to his advantage.
He did, and Tortelli might have had an option to block him out of that line, but he didn't do it. So Ernie with a good run there.
You're talking about 2 good friends here, too. These are not bitter rivals. They are good friends off the course as well.
And Ernesto has been attacking since he's been back at outdoors after the knee surgery. He's definitely been working at it. And to be raced to with Sebastien Tortelli, who was a podium last week, and he's heralded as one of the fastest riders out there. And not everybody's talked that way about Ernesto Fonseca, but obviously putting in great performances.
The key phrase is you have to stay healthy. As we look back at 11th, Nick Wade, and there's Sean Hamblin, who wasn't about 8 spot, dropped his way back, and Heath Voss is trying to take advantage. Voss going by on the outside.
And Hamblin having his share of problems this year, and probably the biggest thing was the dislocated elbow, and that kept him out of a round. So,
well, you know as well as I do, if you can't hang on, it's kind of hard to race.
And it's hard because your arms and your legs, obviously your knees and elbows work as shock absorbers on top of the motorcycle. Motocross racers are some of the fittest athletes in the world, and if your elbow's not 100%, it's going to be tough for you.
Had a bad shock mount, I guess we thought.
Yeah.
Elbow was going south on it. Nick Wade has been charging up some. Nick Wade from Michigan. This is Ohio. I'm sure he was used to the Kenworthy's track, but we want to point out this track is going the opposite direction. This is not the normal track that they are used to.
Well, one thing they are used to here is the deep ruts that develop, and you see the 150 bike there. That's a lapper, Scott Metz, but even guys like Nick Wade having to move through and deal with those ruts, and Ricky Carmichael just dealing perfectly all the way around. We saw the problem with Chad Reed coming up short. Not in the picture now at all.
We're on the last lap here at Kenworthy's Motocross Park for the FMF Nationals. Troy, Ohio, and they're starting to swap out just a little bit. Ricky lifts the front tire, and it's like poetry in motion, just watching how he picks and chooses his line.
And getting the pit board from his mechanic, Mike Gosser. Will he go to Suzuki? We're not sure, but Jamie's going to catch up with him now.
Hey, Mike. Chad Reed stayed with Ricky the majority of the moto, but then Ricky pulled away. Do you guys call that a challenge or consider it a challenge?
No, I consider it a challenge. Chad rode real good. He kept us all moving in like a second a lap, so yeah, you got to be on your toes.
Ricky's obviously feeling pretty good, but I know his leg's a little sore.
Yeah, it's a little bit tight, but he's okay. It's not bothering him riding him.
Definitely not bothering him when he's out in front, catching major air right there. Ricky Carmichael on the number 4 Honda from Havana, Florida, showing how to get things done on this very Supercross-style track. He had to miss the entire Supercross season. I think he's kind of looking forward to 2005, if you know what I mean.
I definitely think so. And this is a little bit tighter confined than most outdoor tracks, so maybe giving him a little bit of a feeling for going back to Supercross, and maybe giving him put some wind in his sails, but I don't think he ever doubted himself. And you really can't doubt Ricky Carmichael. Next year's going to be a great 250 season. A lot of big names in the mix, obviously. This guy and Reed and Pastrana, McGrath, Windham. I mean,
the list goes on. The list, oh, forgot about that guy. The list goes on and on. The Fox Racing Honda of Ricky Carmichael trying to add a check mark. All right, Moto 1's done. Or is it? It's motocross. Anything can happen, but I think it is done.
Ricky Carmichael rides the bike. I mean, I'd have to struggle to really find a time in a race that Ricky Carmichael was down, but last race at Unadilla, he almost went down. And he almost went down in this race, if you'll remember. He had one little excursion off the tracks. Don't count your chickens before they're hatched, but I hear him right now. Ricky Carmichael takes the checkered flag and the first moto win here at Kenworthy's Motocross Park, making it look so easy ahead of Chad Reed. Third spot, Kevin Windham kind of dispelled the threats behind him. And you know, a 3-1 is a pretty decent overall score. Things could happen, and he could get the overall. He still could win. You never know what's going to happen to Ricky. Anything is possible. There's only 2 wheels on these machines, and they do fall over occasionally. Right, the combined score will determine who our overall champion will be today. And you take a look at Kevin Windham looking behind him. The Thor Suzuki of Sebastien Tortelli will be back. Class here at Kenworthy's is in the books. Let's go down to Jamie with our winner.
Over jumping a jump in the backside, like this step up thing and step down. I was jumping all the way over, and when I landed, I kind of landed in between some ruts. My feet came off, total squirrel move, but I was holding on. I was all over the place, and luckily I saved it, and I could have done with a better start. I actually warmed my tire up too much, and it was a little bit, excuse me, a little bit greasy, but it was fun.
I call that the Yahoo effect. As we take a look at our Suzuki results, we have a Suzuki at 4th spot, Sebastien Tortelli.
Yeah, and David Vuillemin rounding out the 6th place position. A little bit of a tough place for him. And, you know, the guy that had a good run at the beginning was Chad Reed. He needs to hold it together and get all the way through, and Jamie's with him right now.
Well, Jack, coming into this race, everybody was saying this could be your opportunity, your track supercross style. You actually held RC in your sights there for most of the race.
Yeah, but it's not because it's Supercross. If it was Supercross, I'd choose my 252 stroke, but it's definitely an outdoor track. It's a lot faster with it being backwoods, and I'm having fun out there, you know, getting good starts and just trying to keep Ricky honest. And, you know, everybody's sticking by me, guys, the Yamaha, Thor parts, and looking forward to the second moto.
Nobody does more to protect your right to ride than the American Motorcyclists Association. Every racer on the track is an AMA member. How about you? Call 1-800-AMA-JOIN or visit AMADirectLink.com. The AMA, rights, riding, racing. And now let's catch up with Ezra Lusk and see what he's been up to.
I mean, it's sad that it's like that, but, you know, I was just reading some of Ricky's interview in that book, and you know, he's right. I mean, everybody counts you out so quick as soon as you're hurt, you know. Everybody says, oh, he's 20, whatever. He got hurt, he's done, you know. He'll retire. But, you know, racing, the competition, the biggest thing for me this year was stepping up to the 450. That I was going to race in the Nationals, and I was really enjoying that because I really haven't been up on the power in a few years, so you know, I was looking forward to that. When you're that young, you know, when you're 16 years old, you really don't know what to think, but when you're 28 years old, you kind of do, you know. Like it's the trophies, you know, like we're getting ready to move again and kind of get settled down in a different place, and it's the trophies, you know, when you see them and you have those at your house. It's just the memories, and you know, the memories I had racing with Jeremy. Probably my son, for sure. You know, racing is definitely, it's what I do, you know, it's a hobby, I make money at it, you know, it's kind of hard for me to just say that it's definitely, when I'm doing it, it's the #1 priority, but in my life, my son is my #1 priority, and I can't, I definitely can't deny that. Yeah, I'm going to come back. I just got to get healthy, and I don't want to come back unless I'm ready to race. So I'm just going to wait it out. Hopefully, maybe the last 3 or 4 nationals. We'll just have to see.
And rumor has it that we will see Yogi at our next Motocross National at Washougal, Washington. When we come back, the 250 Moto2. Number 2, Jamie Little has a star in the mid. Cincinnati Red star, King Griffey Junior.
We're getting ready for the start at 250 Moto number 2, and we have a special guest with us, Ken Griffey Jr. I know you're out here rooting for a couple of riders. James Stewart just wrapped up 125. How about that kid?
Oh, he's great. I mean, it's a lot of fun watching him. I get a chance to race with him in the off-season. He wasn't really in racing. He lapped me, and then I catch up for a second, then he lapped me again. So it's a lot of fun. You know, this year we're going to go up to Tallahassee and watch Ricky and ride with Ricky this year.
I know the whole family is involved. You have your 3 kids here. I know you ride some bikes on the off-season, like you said. Does your wife and the kids?
Well, she has a 660 Raptor. Trey's on a 85. We still haven't got Taryn over the PW50 yet. And then we have a new member, Kevin, which we're going to get him a little four-wheeler, let him go there.
The Griffey family associated with the motocross family. It's good to see that.
It is cool, and I had a chance to talk to him at one of the Supercrosses last year. And definitely a hardcore fan, knows what's going on. Loves to watch Ricky and Bubba ride, and who can blame him?
He'll get his chance next year on the same track. Now it's 250cc Moto number 2. Carmichael won the first one. Who's going to get the whole shot?
And you see Ricky didn't get the whole shot the first time around, but this time, no messing around with the champ, Ricky, right to the front.
That's happened several times this year. If he doesn't get it the first moto, he always comes back really strong.
And look at this guy, charging right into the outside, maybe trying to make a statement here in motor number 2. We talked about him a bit before. The Frenchman on the number 12 Honda, David Vuillemin. Man, he has had some up and down rides, and he could go for a good one right now. His teammate rocking him behind him. We'll see if he tries to go maybe an inside out here. You see Vuillemin out.
But Reed has a really good line on the inside. If Reed takes over this, you go that far away, you can expect somebody to dive inside you, and Reed goes into second, the Cobra back to third.
And I don't know if it was set up or not, but as you see the rest of the pack go through there, the Cobra couldn't get that big jump, and Reedy did. And a giant jump there coming out of that corner.
Chad Reed downshift probably into second gear, has David Vuillemin behind him. Now Reed really starting to close in on Ricky Carmichael. I don't know if you want to make that pass initially. If you're fast enough to, to keep up with him, you might want to stay behind him for a second because you know he's going to show you something.
Right, not only that, but, there is some logic to the fact that if you just sit back there and don't pass him, you're not going to fire him up as much. But if you get past him, you're going to fire Ricky right up. He's going to be, okay, hold on a second. I can bang this thing out like you wouldn't believe.
And a lot of people may say, hey, you stay back there, wait for a mistake. How many mistakes do we see out of Ricky Carmichael? We saw one in moto number 1, but literally not very often.
True, and, the other line of thought is if you stay right behind him, you pressure him into that mistake. You can see him take different lines a little bit there, and Chad going back to the outside. And it's interesting to see their choice of lines around the track have been similar. Got to watch and see if Chad can find a spot where he can make up time, but it looks like Ricky might pull up a little gap right here, and if you start to gap him, then you got problems.
Ground definitely starting to dry up. You see the ruts. We had rain earlier today in moto number 1. Things are starting to dry up. They redissed the starting area there. That's as smooth as it's going to get on the entire course.
And you saw right there, Chad Reed actually had a little bit of a bobble where he went to the high side and, just catching an edge. That's not going to help him catch Ricky.
Cameron, some of these runs you've seen these guys take might have been good earlier, but may not be so good right now. Why is that?
Well, as the track develops, the ruts get deeper, riders keep feeding into them, and not only that, they start to get this warble to them. Instead of just a straight around rut, it starts to go in and out a little bit. It makes the gyration, makes it hard for you to get the bike to cleanly and smoothly. One thing I'm watching David Vuillemin, he's definitely moving around looking at some different lines, and that time he got that big jump, but the lap before he wasn't able to do it.
David Vuillemin in his style, you can pick him out of a motocross lineup in no time. Just rides a little bit different, uses his body more. Kevin Windham, you on the typical, this is how you're supposed to do it racer. That's Kevin Windham, and Windham goes the inside, makes it look smooth, goes by the Cobra, and doesn't use the berm.
He does. He kind of hit the berm and then went inside of it where it was slippery, but he's really good at tracking that big four-stroke, and he's already putting some space in between himself and David Vuillemin. And David really needs to have some attack to get in and mix it up with these guys that have been finishing up in the top 3 or 4. And we know David's capable. He just a little bit of fire is missing, I think.
The last motocross I went to was last year's Millville. When I saw David Vuillemin, he was on the ground, could not breathe. His body actually locked up on him, heat exhaustion. Coming into this year, he's had those moments where he looked like he was tired, and then other times, not so tired.
Well, he's one of those riders that it seems like he almost doesn't have to train to be, you know, to be fluid, right, to be fast. But unfortunately, I think that catches up with you in the end. I'm not saying he doesn't train, but I definitely think that Ricky and Chad and Kevin are a level ahead when it comes to training. And you can see the huge interval back to Kevin Windham in third place.
A lot of distance. Chad Reed not backing off of Ricky Carmichael as well. Windham is starting to separate himself in third over the Cobra David Vuillemin. Sebastien Tortelli working his way up through the field. There's Joaquin Rodriguez, another good start inside the top 10.
And Joaquin's a funny guy when you talk to him. You know, he has a smile on his face. And I remember one time when he had his shoulder problem, you know, I went up to pat him on the shoulder and just winced, and then he started laughing. And he realized I wasn't really going to pat him. But I kind of felt bad to mess with him a little bit.
8th spot, Michael Byrne. Byrne, the Australian native, trying to hold off Heath Voss. We saw Byrne with the difficulty with his shifter in moto number 1. They had that corrected. Now we're getting to see the real Michael Byrne, who Jeff Emig brought over from Australia and kind of acclimated him to the American lifestyle. Ricky Carmichael, your leader, just barely ahead of Chad Reed. Carmichael going for that perfect season. Reed trying to break it up. Ricky Carmichael didn't lose very many 125 overalls during his 3 title runs, but one deal he couldn't close was the 1997 event at Kenworthy. David Huffman was the fastest man of the day, and this whole shot Moto 1 is proved. Carmichael quickly moved into second, but was only able to get close to Huffman once throughout the whole moto before fading. The temperature at Troy 97 peaked at over 100 degrees with an index of 116. And by the start of Moto 2, the riders were feeling it. Huffman pulled another hole shot while Carmichael moved up from 4th. RC was able to keep Huffman in the radar for the first half, but in the waning laps, Huff Daddy put it on cruise for his first win of the year. That was 97. It's 2004 now, and Carmichael is perfect on the season. Every win is in his back pocket.
Yeah, true that. And Damon Huffman racing up in Canada for the Platinum Honda team on the Nationals up there. So we're not seeing much of Damon this year, although we have seen him a couple times. But Ricky Carmichael, that's that section where he had problems with. And this is Jason Thomas. And on the other side there is the 87 of Bobby J Star Racing, Jeff Gibson. Who's kind of a local around here. Yeah,
Jeff Gibson was the amateur star moving up. Now he's riding for the Bobby J's Yamaha team. Yeah, these fans are cheering for Jeff Gibson right down the road in Westerville, Ohio. He's in 14th spot right now on the Floridian Jason Thomas.
And it's interesting to watch these guys ride. Let's see how their lines compare to some of the others. Jeff Gibson's actually working around it. This is one rider over this last year. You know, a lot of promise from him. And JT as well. We saw great performances from him. So those 2 guys in a battle with themselves.
In 4th, the 12 of David Vuillemin factory Yamaha going at it with a factory Honda 24. Ernesto Fonseca from Costa Rica. France and Costa Rica, with France kind of pulling off a little bit. He's given that position. There was no intention to hold up Fonseca.
True that. And coming up behind him is more bad news. Sebastien Tortelli, who we know is, you know, David Vuillemin's nickname's the Cobra, but I mean, you can call Tortelli the rattlesnake because he really comes up and tries to sting.
I like that.
He really, when he has you in his sight, he is a guy that just really wants to go up and take the spot.
All right, we talked about the nicknames, the Cobra, the rattlesnake. What's Fonseca's nickname?
Well, when we were in Spain when he won the Supercross, we were kind of giving him a hard time, and one of the other guys started calling him Hector. I have no idea why, but so when I pass him by in the pits once in a while, I just throw that out. He just gets a chuckle. So I don't know if that's his nickname or not, but Ernesto's just a great personality, a fun guy to be around, and I wouldn't want to be around those two Frenchmen right now.
No, they're going at it big time, but Tortelli looks to be the faster of the two Frenchmen, all over Vuillemin. And they're both trying to catch Hector right now. We're going to try and get that stick again. But Tortelli, he's been injured with a knee problem. Vuillemin, I don't know if he has any injuries or if he's just out there not feeling it right now.
I don't know of any injuries to him. Look at airing out that jump right there, Sebastien Tortelli. That's just so big and getting by David there. And I don't think there's an injury or anything to David. I just think that he just hasn't been right on top of his game where he was. I mean, he's a guy who's won all kinds of races. Right. This is a guy that can and should be winning.
He's won many nationals. He almost won the Triple Crown that one year in Supercross. But to me, I only get to see him a couple times a year. He does not look like he's riding very inspired right now.
Well, we know he had a breakup with his trainers, David Bailey, and they're not working together. I don't know if you call it a breakup. They just decided not to go together, to work together anymore.
Maybe that has something to do with it. The man in front right now, Ricky Carmichael, separated himself from the 22 factory Yamaha of Chad Reed. As we take a look back, Carmichael has dispelled the threat of Reed, and you're talking about two different riding styles. Chad Reed is Supercross, fluid, and maybe that's to his detriment on the motocross tack. Where you look at guys like Carmichael, he's just pinned. James Stewart, pinned. Here's another smooth guy, but he's chasing a guy that keeps it pinned.
Yeah, true. And, you know, it's kind of interesting to hear Chad Reed on the podium because there was so much speculation about this being an outdoor Supercross. And you heard Chad say it himself, you know, this is an outdoor race. If this was like Supercross, I'd be riding my two-stroke.
Right. Yeah, it's as close as you're going to get for a motocross track. Kevin Windham in third place has nobody in front of him, nobody behind him, very much throughout the year. Third place, Kevin Windham.
Yeah, he's kind of been in that area, and we've seen seconds, he's fourth. And I personally, when I watch the guys, when I go to watch practice, I watch Kevin Windham a lot of times because he's really fluid, and you know he's looking at different lines. Very similar to Chad Reed, where they're working the lines with, you said, different styles. Ricky Carmichael can just twist the throttle and just, I mean, he can go anywhere.
He makes his line. He makes his line as he goes along. He just knows I got to keep it pinned to have that line.
And actually looks like Kevin Windham's catching up with Chad Reed a little bit. I mean, there's still quite a big distance between them, but he's not far behind.
You're right, Cameron. He's not backing down. Kevin Windham, you want to talk about his style. Yeah, he has style out there on the track, but also his flying style. The man has his own plane. He cruises on his own plane to each event.
Yeah, he doesn't like to fly commercially. And
me either.
Yeah, none of us do, right? But Kevin doing it his way, traveling with the family.
Well, RC's out in front. He has a pretty decent lead over Chad Reed, but you can see Kevin Windham starting to close in on Chad. We'll see if he can move up to the 2 spot when we return. Robbie Floyd, Cameron Steele, and Jamie Little here at Troy, Ohio's Kenworthy Motocross Park, the FM Nationals Park, the AMA Chevrolet Motocross Championship. Ricky Carmichael's your leader on the CR 450F. That 4-stroke is just powered away as a 4-stroke of Chad Reed.
And a lot of speculation about the learning curve to ride that motorcycle. And I think, you know, when you talk about Chad Reed and his Supercross skills, he's a different kind of rider, so maybe Ricky has a little bit easier time adapting to that bike, because this is the first season these guys have really raced on. You saw Ricky getting a little bit loose there, but he hangs on to the throttle.
Yeah, when this is as bad as it gets, right? Oh, when I rode, if that was the worst thing that ever happened to me, I could be Ricky Carmichael. No, forget that. I couldn't be Ricky Carmichael. But when you're looking at that as a considerable bobble, as we only have 2 more laps remaining, that is about as bad as it gets for Ricky in this second moto so far.
It's funny that that's what we have to dissect.
He lost a little bit of his edge there.
A little bit. He's just so darn good. And where do you pick up if you're the other riders? Is really the question. I mean, where is he faster? You know, I've talked to riders over time. He carries his corner speed better. And Chad Reed's speeding up his motorcycle to try to get there. You see the side panel, his number plate hanging off there, but you know, then they say he hangs it out farther in the whoops, he jumps farther into the flats on the jumps. I mean, there's a lot of things about Ricky Carmichael that make him so fast.
I've been watching Ricky for over 10 years. I knew he'd be fast when he got to the big bikes. He's one of the best mini-cycle riders of all time, but not this fast on the 250s, as Kyle Lewis of Moto Triple X Honda has some difficulties, the former Japanese motocross champion.
And he's had all kinds of hard luck. Big injuries this year for Kyle. It's just good to see him back on the bike, and hopefully better things will come at the next round.
Isn't his nickname Lucky? Is it switching to Unlucky?
Yeah, his nickname definitely doesn't fit. I know he's a clean freak, though.
Yeah?
Yeah, he likes to keep his house really clean.
Oh, gotcha. Now, Ricky, what I was talking about is I watched him grow up. He's always kept that same attitude, just keeps it pinned. A lot of people didn't think he could transfer that to the big bike. This upcoming year, James Stewart, the same way on the 125. As we see problems with Chad Reed losing the side panel, you know, I don't think there is a right way of doing things. I think it's just your own personal style.
And I think the one thing about the way Ricky holds it wide open, you're talking about James Stewart coming up doing the exact same thing. It just looks like there's they can ride it on the ragged edge so far. It just scares people and other riders, and it just shocks you when you see him come by. And like we said, possibly James' downfall coming up is that he's going to be going so fast, trying such gnarly obstacles, anything can happen. So we know James has the speed.
But can he keep it up with the 250s? That'll be the question. As we're approaching the white flag, Ricky Carmichael puts a lap on the 38 of Jason Thomas, who we saw earlier in battle. So Ricky takes a look over. In that level of that fine line that these riders have to ride, Ricky's is probably the finest. It's a comfortability level. Ricky is comfortable riding that. No one else seems to be.
And I think if he slowed down a little bit, he'd throw himself off. And the same thing can be said for James. So they just got to ride it wide open and hanging out. And I'm not saying by any stretch of the imagination that Ricky has a strange or ugly riding style. I think his riding style is just incredible. Holds it wide open, always looks good on the motorcycle. And as we've been saying, not very often is he flawed. We saw the one flaw in moto number 1. I mean, and barely a slip up here in this moto. And look how big the ruts are, how deep they are, pumping the fists of the crowd. What up, Ricky's in the house.
And one of the most popular riders of all time, Bob Hanna, another, some people say erratic, but a great representative of the sport and a great champion. Ricky Carmichael, rider number 4, showing how to get things done from Havana, Florida on the American Honda Fox Racing 450 power plant.
And you talk about great racers and champions. Next round, Washougal's Doug Henry will be coming back to do some racing. So hang on to your hats and glass on that one. We'll see how he mixes it up. We've seen him do great in the past coming back just for Southwick. This year, he decides to come back for Washougal.
Good to have Henry back in motocross, been trying his hand at Supermoto, and I believe he's going to be at the X Games as well as Ricky Carmichael with a few more turns. We looked at Kevin Windham being dropped back a little bit, really not putting the pressure on Chad Reed as we thought he may do towards the end portion of this moto, but smooth sailing for Ricky Carmichael.
Can he go undefeated? That's, I mean,
he's done it once before.
He's done it before, and it doesn't look like the other riders are able to step to him as they have, as Kevin did last year. So, I mean, it almost looks like it's going to be up to Ricky.
Where would it happen? Maybe the last round. If I remember correctly, it was Glen Helen where he had that big misfortune, went off the track, but I don't know. I think that was an anomaly. Here he is. Ricky Carmichael takes 2 wins here at Troy, Ohio at Kenworthy's. He's a perfect 14 in 14 motos on the season. As we take a look at the Suzuki results, it has Carmichael on top.
And then, of course, Reed Windham right behind. Fonseca with a great moto, and Joaquin Rodriguez holding up there for a top 10.
We also want to make note, Jeff Gibson from Westerville, Ohio. Congratulations, 14th spot in moto number 2. Now down to Jamie, who's with Ricky Carmichael.
Ricky Carmichael continuing his perfection, 14 wins in 14 races. Ricky, what keeps motivating you when you're so far out front? Because you don't back down.
No, I just try to keep putting in good laps, and, you know, just to try to beat my times, I guess. And, you know, these guys are running the whole time too hard, and I just keep trying to pull all the way through. That's why I never try to let off. I mean, I do to a certain extent. I don't hang it out as much the second half if I have a big lead.
As we take a look at the overall results brought to you by Suzuki, the top 3 look the same. Ernesto Fonseca improves his score, taking a 4th in the second moto. Now back down to Jamie.
It's frustrating. You know, last year was really, really disappointing. And, I didn't really have much fun. You know, this year I'm having fun. Ricky's raised the bar really, really high, and And that's fun, you know. It sucks to get second, but it's fun to get a challenge and to go home during the week knowing that you're not the guy and you need to lift it up. And it's good for my Supercross skills next year too. You know, we're gonna have a great year next year, and you know, we're just building on that.
It's good to hear Chad Reed with that never give up attitude. He's behind 54 points, but he's still wanting to get that first win of the season and the first overall for that matter. Now down to Jamie Little with third, Kevin Windham.
Kevin, Moto 1, you said you just kind of settled in there. This Moto, you turned it up there toward the end.
Yeah, I wanted to try to catch Chad. I saw him in front of me, and I started making a little bit of time on him. And, you know, you got to push it to the next level. You got to be willing to put your body and your bike on the line and push it to the limits. And I started to do that Moto. You know, Ricky had a big lead. He wasn't pulling me that much in the early parts, and in the middle I was kind of staying the same. I don't know if he let up or not, but you know, I'm just starting to push, and just put it right there on that limit.
Cameron, the Carmichael dominance continues.
Just tearing it up. We'll see if Windham can come to play hard at Washougal.
Washougal, the next stop on the AMA Chevrolet Motocross Championship Tour. Well, that's it here from Kenworthy. Ricky Carmichael is your champion. On behalf of Cameron Steele and Jamie Little, I'm Robbie Floyd. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com.